Part 56. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 551. Chapter 551 Experiment. Mu Chen turned around and saw the intertwined hands of Zhang Xiaoxiao and Mr. Shi at a glance. The unique dark green color in the test tube makes people feel frightened when they look at it. Mu Chen stood up. Dr. Zhang, what are you holding in your hand? Zhang Xiaoxiao answered first. You can tell your father that I have prepared an ancestral secret recipe. He can find someone to verify the effect of this ancestral secret recipe. Of course, I can also be the experimenter myself. Song Moding clenched his fists. Hands to Mufeng, turns around and leaves the laboratory. I'll go tell my father to arrange the rest of the experiments, and you'll watch her here. Mufeng told Mu Chen and turned to leave. Mufeng, who was in a hurry, was blocked in the stairwell by Mr. Shi. Mufeng observed his surroundings. You're crazy. Do you know how perceptive my brother is? What you did just now will definitely arouse his suspicion. Song Moding gritted his teeth. The plan must be advanced. I will take Zhang Xiaoxiao and the child away tonight. How you want to create chaos is your business. If you don't help me create this chaos, then the agreement between us void. Mufeng looked at Song Moding like a madman. The armed guards here are loaded with ammunition. You actually want to take Zhang Xiaoxiao and the child away alone? Do you want them to die with you? Everything has not been arranged. You forced me to do this. That is to say, forcing us all to die. Mufeng gritted his teeth. Song Moding was too abnormal. He deeply doubted how Song Moding could do such a job well with his professionalism. Didn't those training places teach them how to deal with this kind of emotion? Song Moding smiled and said, whether I'm crazy or not, you can wait and see. The bomb has been sent to the laboratory, and I will let it explode at 12 o'clock tonight. This is what I can inform you, half an hour evacuation time. Within this time, you can leave with Zi Luo, the rest is my own business. Although there were many flaws in the plan, there was not much time now. He could not let Zhang Xiaoxiao be directly exposed to Mu Xiaokeng's attention. He could only create this chaos himself. Then he will try his best to kill Mu Xiaocheng before 12 o'clock. An elder of the Mu family died, and the chaos should be enough for him to take Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others away. Enough to detonate the entire laboratory. The virus sample is in the laboratory, and Mu Chen is guarding it almost day and night, just to ensure that the sample will eventually produce a finished product. Then let Mu Chen disappear into thin air along with his virus samples. This is all coming to an end. What else does Mufeng want to say? What are you two doing here? Mu Xiaocheng stared at them with dark eyes. Mufeng's heart tightened. How suspicious his father was. There was probably no one in the world who could make his father let go of his inner guard. There are not many people he can trust. Even though he is his most trusted son, at some point, he also believes that his father is on guard against him. Father, I am about to go find you. Dr. Zhang said that she has prepared the secret recipe handed down from her ancestors, and now she hopes that father will see her do the experiment in person. I am instructing Mr. Shi to arrest the two people in the back who have similar symptoms to Ziluo. Bring it over. Song Moding's expression was calm, without any trace of panic. Yes, Mr. Mu, I'll go right away. Mu Xiaocheng was so overwhelmed by the news that he completely failed to notice that the atmosphere between the two of them was not like a normal boss giving orders to his subordinates. Great, I want to see how magical this ancestral secret recipe will be. Mufeng accompanied Mu Xiaocheng in. He turned around and gave Song Moding a warning look. Song Moding watched Mufeng leave speechlessly and looked up at the laboratory. He turned around and went to the cell at the back, where two people were locked up. These two are not good people. Even though they are seriously ill and are being raised here, in fact, they are both heinous people with a long history of evil. The purpose of being kept here was to use them as experimental subjects. Mu Xiaocheng is not a good person. In order to treat his daughter's illness, he found many such people. I am locked up in the back room just to do various drug experiments to help my daughter get good treatment. There are not just one or two people who died here, these two are the last two, and of course they are also the two who can survive the most. Even if these two people could survive, they were still dying. Song Moding directed the guards to carry the two people directly to the hall in front of the laboratory. Mu Xiaocheng will be there to witness with his own eyes the effect of the ancestral secret recipe. Two people on a stretcher brought it over. Zhang Xiaoxiao stood there with his ancestral secret recipe in his hand, watching all of this quietly, with an unfathomable expression. Mu Xiaocheng stared at the test tube in Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand. The dark green stuff in the test tube made him a little excited. He didn't know what effect this ancestral secret recipe had, but Zhang Xiaoxiao took it out so quickly, which surprised him. He didn't expect that Zhang Xiaoxiao was very aware of current affairs. For the sake of his son, all bottom lines can be compromised. From this point of view, Zhang Xiaoxiao is not like Wu Weiguo. In terms of the fact that tigers are poisonous but will not eat their seeds, Zhang Xiaoxiao is more like a human being. It seems that Wu Weiguo has not taken care of this child for so many years, which makes this child not as cruel as him. Let's get started, Dr. Zhang, let's see how magical your ancestral secret recipe is. Mu Xiaocheng was a little excited. If it was really possible, his daughter might be saved. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at Mu Xiaocheng. Mr. Mu, first of all I want to confirm with you it was difficult to get together enough to make this ancestral secret recipe, but this time only 500 ml was produced. I know you don't believe in the effect of my ancestral secret recipe, and you definitely want to verify it. But I want to make it clear that the next time I want to make it, it will take at least a year because the required materials are not ready at all. All the ingredients need to be concentrated and refined, and I simply can't make it with the stuff I have on hand. I just hope you understand that if you waste a little bit of these things, the effect will be greatly reduced. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked up to one of them with a test tube. His situation is exactly the same as Ziluo's, so according to his situation, let's drink a small cup now. Zhang Xiaoxiao drank a glass of peach wine. The man was already dying. He drank this glass of peach wine. Other than the ups and downs of his chest, it can be seen that this person is still alive, and he no longer feels any life. Mu Xiaocheng just stared at that person. This will not be effective, and it will also be a waste of medicine. Otherwise, I will let you take a look at it intuitively. I will do the experiment myself, because I don't want to waste these medicines from ancestral secret recipes. Zhang Xiaoxiao suggested. Mu Xiaocheng nodded. He is not worried about Zhang Xiaoxiao's deception. She has his son in her hands. Zhang Xiaoxiao proposed using herself as an experiment, probably because she wanted to gain her trust as soon as possible and get her son back into her arms. A practice that is very good at winning people's trust. Mu Xiaocheng was very satisfied with Zhang Xiaoxiao's surrender. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 552. Chapter 552, First Show of Strength. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at Mu Xiaocheng. Mr. Mu, now I hope to clear the place, leaving only a few important people, and everyone else will leave. Because this secret can only be known to the core people, and I think you don't want anyone to disclose it. The secret is out. Mu Xiaocheng was surprised, he really dared to say it. Look at Mu Chen. All other staff are withdrawing, all guards are in the corridor, the only people left here are those I trust. Others quickly started to act as Mu Xiaocheng said. Soon the hall was empty. Only Mu Xiaocheng, Mu Feng, Mu Chen, and Mr. Shi are left. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked to Mu Feng. Lend me your dagger. Mu Feng glanced at Mu Xiaocheng. Mu Xiaocheng nodded, the dagger didn't matter. As long as it is not within the scope of a gun, it is absolutely impossible for Zhang Xiaoxiao to use a dagger to deal with him alone. Give her. Muafeng pulled out a military thorn from his waist. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised the knife and stabbed his arm with his hand. The weather was hot. Zhang Xiaoxiao was originally wearing a dress, with his arms exposed. When the dagger was pierced, blood dripped down. Zhang Xiaoxiao gritted his teeth, turned pale, and took out the dagger. This piercing wound looked serious. Everyone stared at Zhang Xiaoxiao's astonishing action with their mouths open. Song Moding stood behind the pillar, his hands tightly clenched into fists. He knew what Zhang Xiaoxiao wanted to do, to let everyone know how effective her ancestral secret recipe was. The miraculous curative effect of my ancestral secret recipe can quickly heal all wounds. Of course, this function is also applicable to organs. It can quickly restore damaged organs to their original state. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised his head and drank a glass of dark green liquid. Zhang Xiaoxiao stretched out his arms, and the blood flowed even more fiercely. Mu Xiaocheng sat up straight and stared at Zhang Xiaoxiao intently. Is this woman crazy? Can you say such nonsense? With today's medical technology reaching this level, his daughter's disease is nothing. She can be cured by just drinking some medicine. Does this Zhang Xiaoxiao think that by fooling him like this, he can let her out? Is this the brain in water, or was it caught by the door? Mu Chen didn't say a word, but slowly walked towards Zhang Xiaoxiao. The distance was getting closer and closer. His eyes were shining with joy under the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose. His breathing was rapid, his chest the ups and downs represent how excited he is inside. Zhang Xiaoxiao raised his arms. Mr. Mu, open your eyes and take a look. Mr. Mu, do you usually feel uncomfortable? You can also test it. Of course, at least 100 ml of this medicine must be reserved for Ziluo to treat illnesses, and the rest can be used for experiments. The wound on Zhang Xiaoxiao's arm was healing at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. Mu Chen widened his eyes and stared blankly at the wound. Mu Xiaocheng stood up abruptly. Because he was too surprised, the cigar in his hand fell directly on the carpet. The burning smell could not arouse his alertness. The whole person walked over quickly. Muafeng also followed closely, looking eagerly at Jiang's small wound. He never expected that Zhang Xiaoxiao's ancestral secret recipe would actually work. It seemed that he had found the wrong partner. With Zhang Xiaoxiao's ancestral secret recipe, Ziluo can return to living like a normal child even if a suitable heart is not found. At this moment, Mu Feng decided from the bottom of his heart that he must protect Zhang Xiaoxiao, even at the cost of his own life. Mu Xiaocheng walked to Zhang Xiaoxiao. Dr. Zhang, your medicine is so powerful, it recovers so quickly, what kind of side effects will it have? Zhang Xiaoxiao scoffed. Mu Xiaocheng was very vigilant. He was not blindly attracted by the effects of his medicine. He at least considered the side effects first. This is because Mu Xiaocheng has been exposed to too many effects of this kind of bacteria. His first reaction is not to think how amazing this medicine is. Instead, his first reaction is to consider the side effects this medicine will bring to people. Talents. I drank it myself. If you think there are side effects, I would put myself at risk. I can tell you that this medicine has no side effects. Mr. Mu, if I remember correctly, you once mentioned that you had a liver resection operation, and you also have diabetes in your family, and you need insulin injections every day. And you, Mu Feng, if I remember correctly, you are born with diabetes. You have high blood pressure, don't you try it? Of course, serious illnesses require a higher dose. For minor illnesses, drinking less will be completely effective. Anyway, everyone here is studying medicine. Isn't second young Master Mu a doctor? Whether you see any effects after drinking the medicine depends on your device. It's not just my words that have the final say. Zhang Xiaoxiao extended an olive branch. Mu Xiaocheng stared at Zhang Xiaoxiao suspiciously. Laughed like an old fox. Dr. Zhang, do you think I'm a fool? Do you think I'll drink it if you ask me to? Let's not talk about whether this kind of thing has any side effects, just in case something like yours is poisonous. You risk your life and try to poison me to death. This is not impossible. People like you always regard yourself as superior to others, like such noble and holy saints. What you worship in your mind is the so-called morality and nobility, and you are willing to sacrifice yourself for others. I have seen many such people. Dr. Zhang, do you think I will be fooled like this? Mu Xiaokeng's words let Zhang Xiaoxiao know that this old fox was too vigilant, and in his heart, his defense against others had reached its peak. Her mere tricks would definitely not make the other party take off their guard, but she was already at the end of her rope. Zhang Xiaoxiao came here with the determination to die. All seems to have failed now. Zhang Xiaoxiao's face remained unchanged. Even in the face of failure, she understood that she had no right to show any emotion, and she had to continue acting even if she failed. There is another child like Tang Yuan there, waiting for him to save. There are thousands of people in the world waiting for her to save. She is not a saint. Not a hero who saves the world. But this time, even if Song Moding doesn't want to continue, she will insist on doing it. She will not allow her family, her dear friends, and she can finally reverse the previous life and let everyone live happily in this world. All this will be destroyed because of Mu Xiaokeng's ambition. So Mu Xiaocheng must die. Even if it means sacrificing yourself. Mr. Mu, you don't need to drink it. But these will have to wait for the next batch of medicines, which will take about a year. You can take a look at the effects of this medicine first. I don't think I need to lie to you. Anyway, it's just these 100 ml, now 30 ml has been lost. The rest can be done as an experiment. Who do you want to be the experiencer? I have let you see this amazing scene, see my wound, it is now completely restored to its original state, and this is not what I say. The wound on Zhang Xiao's arm has recovered to a surprising extent. Even if it's not pristine, it's still stunning. Zhang Xiaoxiao naturally knew that what he was getting this time were peaches from the spiritual spring water, and these were no ordinary peaches. The effect is far more powerful than if your own peach is a peach grown on a tree, of course the effect will be amazing. Mu Xiaocheng looked at Zhang Xiao's arm. Mu Feng stretched out his hand and said, Father, I can give it a try on your behalf. If there is no risk, you and Zi Luo can use it. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 553. Chapter 553 Selfishness. Mu Xiaocheng was moved. My son is putting himself in danger. Mu Chen stared at the test tube in Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand. Dr. Zhang, can you let me check the medicine in your hand? At least I need to understand what the ingredients are. Is it toxic? I won't let my father, my sister, and my brother go there easily. Try this drug. Zhang Xiaoxiao sneered. Hold the test tube tightly with one hand. Second young Master Mu, you are really good at joking. Do you want to study the ingredients of my medicine and want to know whether it is toxic? Do you think I am a fool? What is a secret recipe passed down from generation to generation? Do you understand this? If you haven't learned Chinese yet, go back and ask your father what the ancestral secret recipe means. Since you don't believe it, why let me take it out? Zhang Xiaoxiao was angry, his chest rose and fell after being irritated, and of course his heartbeat was so fast. Her anger was pure bluff. It's strange that she's not afraid. As long as any test can detect it, the content in this test tube does not contain any drugs at all, it is just a simple peach juice. Once any instrument detects it, it can never be turned into a drug. Okay, second brother, stop talking, I'm going to do the experiment. Everyone knows that I have high blood pressure, and our family has familial diabetes. Let them bring me a plate of chocolates. After I eat the chocolates, you start testing your sugar. Then after I drink this cup of ancestral secret recipe, you can measure your sugar and blood pressure to see what the effect is. If I have no problem after 3 hours, then these things can be used. Mu Feng was not only doing it for Ziluo, but also for Zhang Xiaoxiao. Zhang Xiaoxiao had begun to show his true ability without hiding his clumsiness. If they don't believe Zhang Xiaoxiao now, Zhang Xiaoxiao really changed his mind and was taken away by Song Moding. It would be difficult for Zhang Xiaoxiao to come up with this ancestral secret recipe. Judging from the current results, Zhang Xiaoxiao was right not to take it out. If he did, there would probably be a lot of people coveting this thing in the world. In order to compete for such a thing, the major families would probably go on a killing spree. Who knows what would happen? A storm. He must ensure that Ziluo can recover. Zhang Xiaoxiao sat down with a calm expression. He showed a false smile towards Mu Xiaocheng. Arrogant attitude and panic inside. If Mu Xiaocheng still doesn't believe it, his plan will fall short. It's useless even if you talk about it in a lavish way. Mu Xiaocheng waved his hand. Stop talking, go get some chocolate for your brother to squeeze a glass of juice, and prepare various instruments. I want to watch it myself. Mu Xiaocheng's voice was trembling. He knew his own physical condition. In addition to liver surgery and diabetes, he knew that he would have a kidney removal surgery scheduled for a month later. My own body is actually deteriorating, and some medical technologies are not capable of extending human life indefinitely. His purpose of amassing money so frantically is, of course, that he wants to buy his own life with money. My daughter needs to live longer, and so does I. Maybe their family has been punished by God for doing all the bad things. None of the descendants of this family are truly healthy. All children are born with family diabetes from the moment they are born. As they grow up, complications of diabetes will continue to appear. He has never thought about a life worse than death, and now Zhang Xiaoxiao has provided him with an unlimited future. With a healthy body and a strong body, you can do the things you want to do, eat the food you want to eat, and live the life you want to live. If Zhang Xiaoxiao can do it, so what does he need from Wu Weiguo? Have Zhang Xiaoxiao in hand. This thing is more dazzling than those germs. Who doesn't want to live longer, and who doesn't want to have a healthy body? Those rich people are willing to extend their lives even if they spend billions. If there is such a thing, how many people will flock to it and rush to give money to themselves? Mu Xiaocheng is really greedy and ambitious. Mu Feng's face was expressionless. This was not the first time he had seen his father's cold blood. He is not doing it for Mu Xiaocheng, everyone is the same anyway. No one is nobler than anyone else, and no one is meaner than anyone else. The results came out quickly. Mu Xiaocheng watched that within just 10 minutes, Mu Feng's blood sugar and blood pressure returned to normal levels. Great joy. Good, Dr. Zhang, very good. Your ancestral secret recipe is indeed well deserved. Very good, Dr. Zhang, come on, give me some to drink. My physical condition is like this. Mu Xiaocheng looked at the lifeless man who was lying on the stretcher just now. Now he has opened his eyes and gradually regained his composure. I feel a little secretly distressed. I blame myself for being too suspicious. Had I known that this medicine was so effective, I would not have wasted it on this person. Zhang Xiaoxiao just made it very clear that these medicines can only be made in a year. Although he can use up all his financial resources to help Zhang Xiaoxiao find the medicines, he will definitely not be able to get them out for a while. The remaining medicine in these test tubes totals 500 ml. Now a lot of it has been wasted. In total, almost 100 ml is gone. There are 400 ml left and 200 ml should be reserved for Zi Luo, so there will definitely be less for you to use. Mu Xiaocheng weighed it in his mind. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Mu Xiaocheng indifferently. Mr. Mu, are you kidding me? These medicines are so precious, it's best to leave them all to Zi Luo. There is no need for you to waste these medicines. Your physical condition is not critical now. In a year and a half, when I make it again, you can definitely use these medicines again, so why waste this opportunity? Zhang Xiaoxiao refused simply, but Mu Xiaocheng was more relieved. He saw with his own eyes that all these medicines were poured out of this test tube, including what Zhang Xiaoxiao drank just now. They were all poured out of this test tube. There was absolutely no way they were poisonous. These medicines are the most reassuring. He knows his daughter's body very well, and there will be no problem if she insists on taking them for another 2 years. If you have money, the doctor will do his best to take care of the child. The one who cannot fall now is him. He will have surgery next month. Who knows what side effects the surgery will have? If he can take medicine, why bother to go under the knife? At this time, Mu Xiaocheng was selfish and greedy in his heart. At this moment, he completely forgot about the father-daughter love for his daughter. Although he tried his best and spent his energy to make money, it was for his daughter and for the whole family. But at this moment when life and death were at stake, he felt that he was the one who should live more. As long as he is alive, the entire family can operate normally. Only when he is alive can he get more financial, material and manpower, and ensure that the children can live a stable life under his care. The daughter can wait, but he cannot wait. If he has surgery next month, it will take at least a month to recover, which will delay a lot of important things for him. But now that he has this medicine, he can even hold the latest order meeting next month. How many people will come for the medicines in front of him and the weapons in his hands? This medicine is not only for Zi Luo. Except for what you drink, the remaining medicine should be strictly divided into equal portions. Except for 1 share which is used to allow those people to witness the miracle with their own eyes, the rest must be sold at a high price to those who can pay the minimum price. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 554. Chapter 554, Can't accommodate my daughter. Don't worry, you can make a list of medicines today. Whatever you need, I can help you find it as quickly as possible, no matter how expensive it is or how hard it is to find. Someone can bring it to you, and it won't take a year or a half, maybe only a month. You can make the medicine again. Now you just have to do as I tell you. I can give you anything you want. Wealth, status, fame, anything. Mu Xiaocheng walked up to Zhang Xiaoxiao. Stretch out your hand. A firm attitude and a greedy look. Zhang Xiaoxiao clutched the test tube tightly. This cold-blooded man, she guessed that Mu Xiaocheng was definitely not that kind. But she really didn't expect that Mu Xiaocheng could be so cruel to her daughter. It is really a myth that tiger poison cannot eat its seeds. Humans are now living worse than animals. Zhang Xiaoxiao's silent attitude is a kind of silent resistance. Mu Xiaocheng's extended hand was firm. He is destined to become a hero. He wants to become that great man who will go down in history. As long as he has Zhang Xiaoxiao's ancestral secret recipe, he will become an omnipotent person in the world. No matter you have money, status, or reputation, it cannot be compared with life. Under this premise, if you hold the capital that can keep others alive, who can refuse to obey his orders? Dare you not agree to his request? Zhang Xiaoxiao in front of him will be the one who sends him straight to the blue sky. The world will change because of him. Muofeng lowered his eyes. He knew it, he already knew it. His own father is the devil. What he sold everything for was the mere hope of survival for his sister. But now his father has to deprive him of even his last hope. If Mu Xiaocheng is willing to cure Ziluo's illness today, Then he might even change his mind. Don't help Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao. But now he understands that his heart has long been cold. If Zi Luo wants to survive, relying on Mu Xiaocheng is just a dream. Even though Mu Xiaocheng accompanies Ziluo every day, loves his daughter like a loving father, and spends money and energy to take care of her, in Mu Xiaocheng's heart, the most important person is himself. How can anyone else better than him? Father, treat Ziluo first, the rest is not that important. I can help Dr. Zhang find all the medicines as soon as possible. I will ask Dr. Zhang as soon as possible. Mu Feng begged Mu Xiaocheng. This is Zi Luo's only hope. This is not a heart. It is a life. Mu Xiaocheng looked back coldly and looked at his son. Why are you in charge of the Mu family now? Mu Feng knelt down and said, Dad, Ziluo can't wait any longer. Do you want to see her suffer from the pain every day? Didn't you just go see her today? She was in so much pain when she was sick, on the line between life and death. Since there is this opportunity, why not give it to Ziluo first? She is your daughter, your most beloved daughter, the only daughter you have in this life. You once said that she is your life and you are willing to give everything you have for her. If this is the case, can't the rest wait later? Mu Xiaocheng was furious, and even a little angry with embarrassment. He loves this daughter dearly. He loves this daughter the most. To everyone and the whole world, he dares to say that this daughter is his favorite, but loving this daughter does not mean that he must compromise now. The prosperity of the family is now in his hands. All conditions are ripe. Zi Luo can wait, but the Mu family can't wait. He has been waiting for this day for hundreds of years, from his grandfather, father to himself. This is a family that has been in the family for hundreds of years. Generations of men have only one goal, to revitalize their Mu family. Although they can now be called rich and have wealth, how can this compare to this fleeting opportunity? Zi Luo can wait, but he cannot wait. Father. Mu Feng means to beg bitterly. Mu Xiaocheng didn't even look at Mu Feng. Give me. Command Zhang Xiaoxiao. Zhang Xiaoxiao sneered and said, Mr. Mu, you are really cold-blooded. You can ignore the life or death of your own daughter. Hand over the test tube in your hand. Mu Xiaocheng took it over, his expression of excitement and joy made him pay no attention to anything else. Hold the test tube and pour a full cup. Zhang had a small meal. What does it mean to do one's own fault and not survive? Mu Xiaocheng is looking for death. It has nothing to do with her. This cup is already 250 ml. This cup is enough for 2 peaches. Mu Xiaocheng looked at the remaining medicine and drank all the liquid in one gulp. Smash it in your mouth. It's not bad, it tastes pretty good. Why does it smell like peach? Zhang Xiaoxiao stood up and said, Mr. Mu, I want to see my son now. Mu Xiaocheng smiled. Of course, people like Dr. Zhang will definitely be reunited with their sons. Mu Feng, please arrange to send Dr. Zhang's son to her room first so that mother and son can be reunited. This is what we should do. Dr. Zhang, don't worry, I will get you whatever you need. The whole world is yours to do whatever you want. Mu Xiaocheng felt comfortable in the same body. There seemed to be endless energy in his whole body and blood, and his whole person became more energetic. Zhang Xiaoxiao gave Mu Xiaocheng a meaningful look coldly and followed Mu Feng away. Her expression remained calm, but her heart was filled with anxiety. Of course she knew the role of Peach. Although it didn't show up within 3 hours, once 3 hours passed, Mu Xiaocheng began to feel tired, and gradually he fell into a drowsy state, and his entire internal organs began to fail. In less than 5 hours, the entire people will end their lives. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which meant that they had to leave the villa before 10 o'clock in the evening. Otherwise, once the matter is exposed, Mu Chen will bring all the guards in the manor to kill them to vent his anger. Of course Zhang Xiaoxiao may not be killed, but the child will bear the brunt. But this time is too unfavorable for them. Between 5 and 10 o'clock is when people are most awake, and the patrols of the guards are definitely the most rigorous. It is extremely difficult for them to escape at this time. Not to mention that Mu Xiaokeng's condition will be greatly reduced in 3 hours. No matter how good Mu Xiaokeng's mental state is now, it will be how bad his state will be 3 hours later. There is not much time left for them, only 3 hours. Go out the door. Muafeng grabbed Jiang's small wrist. You still have those medicines, right? I don't believe that Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't leave any chassis behind. Zhang Xiaoxiao must have ulterior motives. Definitely is. Zhang Xiaoxiao has not let down her guard against Muafeng from the beginning until now. She does not trust Muafeng. This kind of distrust is engraved in the bones. Muafeng and Songmoding are different. Songmoding does it because of responsibility, and his own honor. But Muafeng is different. He only chose to betray temporarily, and the premise of this betrayal was for Zi Luo. And now if the medicine in his hand can really cure Ziluo's disease, Muafeng will be able to turn the gun and aim it at her and Songmoding in a matter of minutes. Shrugging, no, not at all. It's all in your father's hands. And even if you get those medicines back, you can't cure Zi Luo's disease. The amount of medicine is no longer enough to cure Zi Luo. Muafeng's face was flushed, and his abnormal anger made him kick the door frame hard. The solid wood door frame was actually broken by his kick. Zhang Xiaoxiao said nothing. Rather than get angry here, it's better to rescue Ziluo quickly. I still have a chance to prepare medicine for you. Based on the current situation, you can also see your father's madness. Even if I can make medicine in the next time, I won't be able to make medicine for you. There is absolutely no chance that it was used to treat Zi Luo's illness in the first place. Your father's ambition is the world. This is the tragedy of Zi Luo. She was born into this family, and Mu Xiaocheng did not love her as much as she imagined. Okay, leave immediately. I want them to take Ziluo away. Leave immediately. Muafeng has extinguished his anger and started to make arrangements calmly. To leave. This is not a suitable place for Ziluo. If he leaves here, Zhang Xiaoxiao will have a chance to save Ziluo. If he doesn't leave, just like in Zhang Xiaoxiao's novel, Mu Xiaocheng will have too much heart. Can't fit in my own daughter. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 555. Chapter 555 Can't speak anymore. Zhang Xiaoxiao returned to the room. 5 minutes later, the boy was taken to Jiang's small room. The child stared at Zhang Xiaoxiao silently without saying a word. Seems to be used to this kind of sudden change. Sitting on the sofa obediently, motionless. There was neither crying nor any expression from a 2 or 3-year-old child. Zhang Xiaoxiao feels a little sorry for this child, who is only 2 years old and can observe his emotions. Know how to act based on adults' faces. The origin of this child may not be serious. Children from normal families would not allow this child to be taken out. It can be seen that this child has not lived in a stable environment, so he did not express any strong expressions when faced with these emergencies, nor the unfamiliarity and uneasiness of the environment. Means he often encounters such emergencies. Children have become accustomed to it. It should be said that this child can grow a round body of flesh, and I don't know who gave it to him. It was probably arranged by Muafeng. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked up to the child. The young child trembled, but remained motionless. Zhang Xiaoxiao touched his head and felt the child's tense and stiff muscles under his palm. There are also small fleshy hands that are clenched into fists. Don't be afraid, Mom will take you out of here. You have to be obedient and we will leave soon. Zhang Xiaoxiao holds the child. Use your warm embrace to soothe the child's nervous heart, and finally the child's stiff back relaxes. gradually snuggled into Zhang Xiaoxiu's arms. "Mom, I will be obedient." Zyro tightly grasped Zhang Xiaoxiu's sleeves, a desire rising in his heart. "Can I have a mother myself?" Even though he knew it was all fake, he still secretly liked the gentleness of the fake mother in front of him. From the time he was sensible, no one told him that he had a mother. He is in the hands of one person and wanders around to the hands of another person. Some people would say it was his mother or father, but after he saw those parents, who would often deny him food and lock him in a dark room, he no longer had any hope for his parents. He would move from one house to another, and he would do whatever the adults asked him to do. He would go out of his way to please the adults in order to get food to fill his stomach. He would also observe the adults' faces to know whether they were unhappy or happy. The provincials themselves were beaten and starved. Now I can stay quietly in the arms of this so-called mother. She did not punish herself or ask for anything, she just hugged him. He thought this was probably the simplest task. "Mom, I'm hungry." He is hungry. As far back as he can remember, he knew that he would always feel hungry and never have enough to eat. He knows that adults will meet his small requests when they are in a good mood. Obviously, this mother must be in a good mood now, because she did not speak harshly to herself, nor did she have gloomy eyes. The expression is gentle and the voice is kind and sweet. Just like the mother in his dream. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded, "You're full. Only when you are full can you run." 10 minutes later, they had eaten a sumptuous meal. Moreover, she got a note under the plate of a big meal, which should have been sent by Song Moding. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the children who were devouring the food and said, "Eat slowly, don't be in a hurry. If it's not enough, Mom will ask them to bring it over." Looking at the child with a somewhat complicated expression, the child also has a good appetite. One person ate 2 plates of pasta, 2 steaks, and 2 fruit salads. A 2-year-old child ate so much food that she doubted whether the child's stomach could handle it. The child looked as if he hadn't eaten in several days. The child raised his head and said, "Mom, no need. I'm full of these things. Even if you haven't eaten yet, I'll eat your share. Otherwise, Mom, you can ask for another one for yourself." Appropriate consideration shows that one is sensible. Most women will love such children. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and shook his head. This child is different from Tang Yuan. Tang Yuan is innocent and innocent. The child in front of me is only 2 years old. He is also 2 years old. Many children do not understand anything at all when they are 2 years old. They are still at an innocent age when they are learning to talk and play with adults. But the child in front of him has actually started to play tricks on the adults. I feel secretly sad in my heart. This can only mean that this child has a rough fate. Let him learn how to get along with adults early and get his own benefits from adults, which is both pitiful and sad. If Mom doesn't eat, you eat it yourself. If it's not enough, you have to tell Mom. Zhang Xiaoxiao comforted the child. No matter what, she is now the nominal mother of this child and has to take on the responsibilities of a mother. Protecting this child is an obligation she has determined in her heart. She will not let this child bear the danger and pain that he should not bear in place of Tang Yuan. The child lowered his eyelids, feeling a little timid. The mother in front of him was too gentle. But her eyes seemed to be able to see through everything, the little thoughts behind her. It seems everyone understands it. Why can't adults just pretend to be confused? I continued to eat with regret. No matter what this woman thinks or what she thinks, she must fill her stomach first. He is still young, so as long as he doesn't starve to death, it doesn't matter what other people do to him. Adults are not good people. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked to the balcony and saw the shadow hidden there through the sliding door. "Open the door." Mr. Shi's evil eyes appeared in the room. The little guy was so surprised that he shouted loudly. Zhang Xiaoxiao reached out and covered his mouth. "It's okay. Don't be afraid, he is an uncle. If you don't speak or scream, I will let you go, or I will stop your mouth. Do you understand? It is a matter of their life and death, so don't be careless. Songmoding thought to himself, Xiao Xiao is too gentle and cannot scare a child like this. Once the child wakes up, it will cause unnecessary trouble. The child nodded, and Zhang Xiao Xiao tried to loosen his clenched palms. As expected, the child made no sound and stood up. Zhang Xiao Xiao and Songmoding were surprised and walked to the bathroom behind them, closing the door and giving instructions. Keep your voices down, I won't eavesdrop on you. Hands on closing the door. Zhang Xiao Xiao laughed in surprise. This child. Songmoding couldn't help but smile. God knows, 2-year-olds are now sperm. I will take you away now and find a coat for the child to put on. I have already prepared the equipment on the balcony and airborne directly from the balcony. I ran into the parking lot, there is a corresponding car there, and I have started the timing device. I will cause chaos in a while. You drive the car and take the child away, go to the grandparents, and call Jin Dachuan, they will protect you. Songmoding picked up the black coat and put it on Zhang Xiao Xiao, while whispering instructions in her ear. Songmoding was not confident that he could come back safely, so he squeezed Jiang's small body tightly. This is the only time that he is not confident that he can come back safely, because he wants to eliminate everyone who knows the inside story. For the sake of Zhang Xiao Xiao, these people must never speak again. Mu Feng, Mu Chen, Mu Xiaocheng, none of them can be missing. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 556. Chapter 556. Whoever believes this is a fool. Zhang Xiaoxiao grabbed Songmoding's clothes and asked him to face him. She knows it all. She knew everything about Songmoding's thoughts. My heart is warm. A man is fighting for himself. Just to protect her secret, protect her and Tang Yuan. Not willing to take risks. Zhang Xiaoxiao was filled with joy and guilt. She never had time to tell Songmoding the detailed inside story, so her man didn't know anything about it. Songmoding thought Zhang Xiaoxiao had guessed his impulsiveness, so he combed her messy hair with his fingers irritably. He would make this little movement when he felt uncomfortable. At least Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that this little movement could tell that he was nervous. She understands his every mood and habit. He's not really nervous, he's just cautious, which shows that they are both smart people. She knew very well that she occupied an important position in Songmoding's life. She raised her wrist to check the time. Songmoding looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao in confusion. Zhang Xiaoxiao was very abnormal today. He thought it was because Zhang Xiaoxiao exposed his secret, but now it seems not. His little wife still has some ulterior secrets that she is hiding from him. What's wrong? We need to speed up. Mu Xiaocheng will start to have a seizure in 5 minutes. At that time, Mu Chen will definitely come back to the room to find me. In terms of time, Mu Xiaocheng will be completely dead in 2 hours at most. Let's leave. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't want Songmoding to stay and take risks. She has already experienced the risk of losing Songmoding once. This time, she definitely does not want to have that heart-piercing experience again. Songmoding held Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand tightly, and the seriousness in his eyes made Zhang Xiaoxiao a little nervous. Isn't that peach wine you took out? He was relieved in his heart. No wonder he always had some doubts in his mind, because in the past, peach wine was pink, but the liquid taken out today was dark green, and he had never seen peach wine of this color. Then his expression changed drastically. What on earth is that? If I remember correctly, you have already drank it? Songmoding carefully looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao's expression, which was rosy and calm, without any sign of paleness or discomfort. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and said, "You forgot that I told you that there is a limit to the number of peaches. Once these peaches exceed a certain amount, they will have side effects. Even 1/3 of the peach juice I drank was no. You can rest assured. This amount is only good for the body and has no harm, but I can't control Mu Shaokeng's drinking of such a large drink. He is too greedy and doesn't even care about his own daughter. I don't sympathize with what will happen to a selfish man." Zhang Xiaoxiao's smiling face pleased Song Moding. What will happen? He has always known that Zhang Xiaoxiao's peach juice can cure diseases and save people, but for the first time he learned that peaches actually have side effects. "I once did an experiment. If you drop 2 peaches, you will fall into a coma within 3 hours. Within 3 to 5 hours, the person will completely lose signs of life. The degree of internal qi decay, even if he is lying in the ICU ward now, surrounded by experts from various fields, I'm afraid the doctors can't do anything." Zhang Xiaoxiao tightened his coat. For the first time, she felt that the side effects of her peach were really good. Those worries and concerns in the past have actually reversed now. Very good. To deal with such people, we must have such determination. Song Moding knew very well how desirable everything about Zhang Xiaoxiao was, so he was determined not to fall into such trouble again. He was determined to cut off the hands of these people, get rid of Mu Shaokeng's entanglement, and get rid of everything in the past. Before the solution was resolved, Zhang Xiaoxiao took action himself. How much determination must his girl have made to do this? He knew that saving people was a sacred cause in Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes, but now Zhang Xiaoxiao was using the same hands he used to save people to kill people. This is how deeply you hate a person. He put his arm around her shoulders and pulled her into his arms. The extremely rational part of his mind ordered Song Moding to cheer up and solve the problem at hand, but he could not get rid of the surging emotions. All kinds of emotions were like huge waves, constantly beating against his tough protective wall. The Mu family must pay the price. He will definitely make the Mu family pay a heavy price. Tender distress welled up in his chest. She doesn't even need him anymore, he thought. She originally thought she would feel safe with him protecting her from the dangers of the world. And now she is resisting all the ups and downs for him. The feeling of love in his chest made him suddenly feel heartbroken. His beautiful and kind Xiao Xiao actually started to kill people in order to protect them. It was because he failed to protect her. He did something wrong. He pulled her close and hugged her tightly. "Let's leave, you go take the child, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Song Moding must arrange everything and nothing can go wrong." Zhang Xiaoxiao had told Mu Shaocheng that he would die, and he would not doubt the result. But there is also Mu Chen and Mu Feng. Mu Feng will choose to remain silent for Zi Luo. People with soft spots will become particularly easy to compromise. But Mu Chen is different. Mu Chen is another Mu Shaocheng. Mu Chen must die. He will leave no hidden dangers. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded, the two hugged briefly, and Song Moding disappeared from the balcony again. In addition to the fluctuation brought by the warm night wind, Zhang Xiaoxiao turned around to find the child. No matter how cunning the little devil is, he is still a child, and Zhang Xiaoxiao will not let him get into trouble because of this. Once they disappear, this child will be the first choice to vent their anger. Zhang Xiaoxiao would not allow that to happen. The bathroom door opened silently. The child put on his clothes and walked out silently. "I'm ready, you just need to put me on a remote roadside, and I'll be fine. The survivability is really strong." Zhang Xiaoxiao was speechless and reached out to hold the child's little fleshy hand. This child was really different from Tang Yuan. "Are you sure you are a 2-year-old? Zhang Xiaoxiao wrapped him up tightly. It was already May and the night was still very cold. They stood on the balcony in silence. "There won't be any danger, right? I won't die, right?" The little boy raised his head and asked Zhang Xiaoxiao. The worry in his voice still made Zhang Xiaoxiao realize that this was just a child. Touch the top of his hair, it feels the same as glutinous rice balls. No, you will not die, you will live well and live a long life. Adults are good at lying. A small rebuttal. Zhang Xiaoxiao burst out laughing, where are your parents? I have no parents, I have been alone since I was born. A frustrated tone. Who cares about mom and dad? That's what people who can't eat grapes say. You will have one in the future, I will be your mother. This child is truly destined to be with her. The boy lowered his head and his eyes flickered. Women are very good at lying. Whoever believes it is a fool. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 557. Chapter 557. Take good care of her. Are you okay? He seems calm and collected. The elusive Song Moding appeared in front of them. Quietly. She nodded. Let's go. He said, holding her arm and leading her towards the door. Zhang Xiaoxiao stretched out his hand and squeezed the chubby hand tightly. Song Moding picked up the little boy and said, hold me tight, close your eyes, I'll be fine soon. There was a hint of gentleness in his voice, and Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that it was Song Moding thinking of glutinous rice balls. The boy closed his eyes and leaned tightly into Song Moding's arms. Hands tightly clutched the clothes on Song Moding's chest. When he was on a mission, Song Moding's senses became more acute, and the peace in his heart radiated outward. The more intense the task, the calmer he becomes, as if time slows down into slow motion. At this time, he can see and hear every detail, analyze and predict the results in his mind, and then make a decision and act. Everything was done in a fraction of a second, but it felt like it took minutes. All come to mind. Adrenaline was flooding through his body, and he could feel the blood coursing through his veins, but his mind remained calm and detached. He had been told that at these moments his face was frighteningly calm and utterly expressionless. They were in almost complete darkness, and the only window was covered with heavy curtains, blocking most of the light. Song Moding didn't even open the curtains, finally able to cover their whereabouts. However, Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that it was night, and the noise of patrolling guards outside was slowly decreasing. She didn't know where it was under her windowsill. But he didn't feel panicked at all. Song Moding had been in and out several times. If anyone had noticed, they should have noticed it long ago. This is not something she should worry about. Finally, there seemed to be some noise coming from the direction of the hall. Many people are heading in that direction. Time ticked by, 1 second, 2 seconds, and then he carefully held hers with his gloved hand. His hand was much larger than hers, and she felt its size and its heat wrapped around her cold fingers. Realizing the strength of his will, he squeezed her gently and then let go. We have 2 minutes to get out of here, he whispered. Follow my orders. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't know if she could do it, but the close connection and tacit understanding between the two encouraged her. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded and stood up, her legs trembling. She forced herself to stand still, brushed the hair from her face. I'm ready. As soon as she took 2 steps, she heard a burst of gunshots piercing the silence of the night, coming from below them. In the blink of an eye, he had quietly and quickly turned away from her. Opening a window, the window was not covered by curtains, so when he looked at her, she could see half of his face hidden in the darkness, and the other half illuminated by the dim light were his high, clear cheekbones. Bones, a square and strong chin, and lips as chiseled as a Greek statue. Look at me, he instructed, look at my gestures. He explained to her the basic hand gestures, a fist raised high for stop, and an open hand for just pause. There are also gestures for moving forward and hiding. The good thing is that they don't have to go far. We have to go out through this window, he said in a low voice. There is a height of 5 meters from the window to the ground, and there is no place to lean on. I will take you down. When you jump to the ground, leave the brightly lit place and wait in the shadow of the building. Try to reduce your stature, understand? Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded. She whispered, stood up and walked through the window. Then the whole person flew into the air. She wanted to lean on him, but she was worried that she would hinder his movements. Her life, and his, depended entirely on his expertise. She can't help, but at least she can stay out of the way. Suddenly a guard appeared in front of them. He was obviously stunned when he saw them, then shouted, and without thinking, he reached out and drew his gun. Song Moding took action almost before the guards saw them. While he put the child in his arms into Zhang Xiaoxiao's arms and pushed her against the wall, he got down on one knee to pull out the gun on his ankle. The guard panicked and fired too early, and the bullet shot into the concrete 3 meters in front of him. Song Moding raised his hand calmly. Zhang Xiaoxiao had no expression on his face when he saw him shooting. His first shot hit the guard's chest, but he shot another shot between the eyebrows. The guard fell. Song Moding grabbed Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand and pulled her to stand up. Screams sounded in the distance, and rapid footsteps ran towards them. Quick! He pushed her towards the exit on the left. He protected her and the child and ran into the underground garage. Mu Chen hugged Mu Xiaocheng. Dad. Dad. Respiratory failure, Dad is dying, brother. Mu Chen panicked and tested Mu Xiaocheng's breathing. He was gradually weakening, and his whole body was dying at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. Mu Feng stood up and pulled out the weapon from his waist. Brother, Zhang Xiaoxiao cannot die, he must be captured. Mu Feng ran out of the room without hearing anything. He ran towards the stairs at the end of the corridor, but instead of going down the stairs, he climbed over the railing and jumped directly to the stairwell platform on the next floor, and rushed into Ziluo's room. Ziluo looked at her elder brother with a pale face, breathing rapidly, and the oxygen mask formed a layer of mist under her rapid breathing. Ziluo fell ill again. Mu Feng picked up Ziluo as carefully as a treasure. Big brother. Brother will take you to see a doctor. Mu Feng picked up Ziluo. This time he arrived at the first floor. The gunfire seemed to come from directly below and to the right, near the back garden. There was the bottom of Zhang Xiao's small room, just as they expected. The garden was almost full of people, and the security personnel tried in vain to find Song Moding's shadow. But when they saw Mu Feng holding Ziluo in his arms, they all stopped automatically. Go find it, at any cost. Mu Feng shouted. Looking at all the guards turning around and rushing into the night, Mu Feng slowed down and thought. Song Moding will try to obtain transportation instead of escaping on foot, but the vehicles are parked in a guarded outdoor parking lot. The underground parking lot of the villa is Mu Xiaocheng's favorite. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Hurry towards the garage area. Emergency lights illuminated the entire villa, which was crowded with armed guards. The dark garage was silent as he moved among the long rows of cars and jeeps. Are you here? He asked softly. Ziluo trembled slightly, and her face became even paler. Exist. Mu Feng suddenly turned around and saw Song Moding coming out of the darkness, followed by a woman holding a child. Come on, I leave my sister to you, cure her, and I will fulfill my promise. He whispered, took out a bunch of keys from his trouser pocket and threw them to Song Moding. Song Moding let go of Zhang Xiaoxiao and caught the key with his left hand. Hand out his hand to take Ziluo, this girl is as light as a feather. Ziluo looked at the back of her eldest brother who left resolutely, feeling at a loss. What happened? End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 558. Chapter 558. Two sick patients. He used the remote control on the key ring to open the door, and they got into the car. Get down on the floor, he said, putting his hand on the back of her head and pressing down, urging her to do as ordered. She was crouched on the floor of the back seat of the car. The little boy had already obediently shrunk into the gap between the seats, protecting his little head and sticking his out like a little ostrich. Zhang Xiaoxiao hugged Ziluo tightly. The girl was breathing rapidly and her eyes were blurry. It was obvious that she had a heart attack. He started the engine and pressed the garage door switch on the remote control. The garage door rises upwards and the lights on the ceiling automatically light up. He glanced at her, smiled, and put the car into first gear. He stepped on the accelerator, and the car rushed forward silently. The first shot broke the car window above her head, scattering broken glass inside the car. She suppressed a scream, raised her arms to protect her head, and instinctively protected Ziluo. The girl's breath was almost gone, her face became more and more ugly, and her lips were very blue. The second shot penetrated the front seat door and the back of the front seat within a few centimeters of Song Moding's arm. Zhang Xiaoxiao was frightened, but he was even more worried about Ziluo. Ziluo is dying. Song Moding stepped on the accelerator to the bottom and shifted gears smoothly to accelerate. Get down. He said that he dodged the third shot that shattered the driver's window at the last moment. He drove towards the double iron gates of the wall. She had no time to prepare for the impact before she hit the front seat amidst the sound of metal screaming, glass shattering, and automatic weapons fire. One of the iron gates has fallen off, and half of the overturned iron gate is pressed against the hood. Are you okay? Song Moding asked loudly while shifting gears and reversing. The iron gate spun and slid to the ground. He shifted gears again, and the car rushed forward again, passing through the iron gate with a harsh metallic sound. He rushed out. I'm fine. Look at the road. The one who's in trouble is Ziluo. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Ziluo unconscious. This child can't hold on. If it weren't for Mu Shaokeng's selfishness, she could have recovered safely now, but now she has to suffer like this. Zhang Xiaoxiao glanced at the little boy and could only see the round butt. Zhang Xiaoxiao took out the peach juice and gave it to Ziluo to drink. At the sound of impact, Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand shook, and peach juice spread on the carpet in the car. Fortunately, it's ordinary peach juice. Looking at Ziluo's steady breathing, Zhang Xiaoxiao felt relieved. The car was not driving as smoothly as before, but was bumpy and bumpy. Apparently the engine was hit by a bullet, but at least they were out of the villa area. We must get rid of the car. Song Moding said, turn around and look behind you. The rear view mirror of the car only had a broken metal frame left, and the mirror had long been broken into pieces and scattered on the ground. Two cars roared past, and a simple gesture made Song Moding feel relieved. But he didn't know that person at all, but he used their usual terminology. Song Moding was suspicious. Jin Dachuan brought people here? But why didn't you contact him? We have 2 children now. Zhang Xiaoxiao wanted to moan. He brought a child with an oxygen tank and a little ghost head. It was God who wanted to kill them. Looking back over the broken seat. The brightly lit villa looks like a mini city from a distance. She saw equally spaced pairs of lights, including car headlights. They are coming after me. She says. They turned a corner, and a dense forest made the villa disappear from sight. He drove off the road and slowed down into the woods. The car bumped among branches and rocks. He did not apply the brake, just in case the brake light would still come on. When they were far enough away from the road and the car body would not reflect the light of the passing headlights, he stopped and turned off the engine. They sat in silence, listening to what seemed like gunfire from the pursuing vehicles. What to do now? Zhang Xiaoxiao asked. Let's go, someone will pick us up after another 3 kilometers. He used the barrel of a gun to break the lampshades and bulbs in the car so that the lights would not reveal their position when the door was opened. She carefully got up from the floor. Broken glass covered her hair, shoulders, and seat. It was very dark in the woods. The car door on her side could not be opened. The door lock might have been hit by a bullet. Fortunately, Song Moding took over the job, broke the door lock, and took over Zilugo. Zilugo is still in a coma. Although the peach juice has been poured in, it will take time for it to take effect. Zhang Xiaoxiao took the little boy out, put him on the ground, and shaked him. They bent down and shook the shards of glass out of their hair and bodies. Her arms and shoulders stung a little, but she felt carefully to make sure she wasn't bleeding. It is not easy for them to be alive, and it is even more of a miracle that they were not cut by the glass. After her eyes got used to the darkness, she saw that half of Song Moding's face was darker. Her heart sank. "You've been shot." She tried to speak in a calm tone. "He cannot be shot, his safety is very important to them." "He wasn't shot, he was cut by the glass." He sounded very angry. It was too dangerous to run in the dark woods. If they were not careful, they could sprain their ankles or even break their bones. Therefore, they cautiously walked through the woods in the opposite direction of the road, stopping from time to time to listen for pursuers. The sounds on the road are getting more and more distant, but Mu Chen's men should be chasing him soon. They emerged from the woods onto a secondary road. The sound of the explosion startled them. Since they were out of the woods, she could see that his head was still bleeding. His clothes were dirty and torn, and her own were no better. She tried to adjust her pace to make her feet more comfortable, and tried to focus on the present. The little boy fell down, and Zhang Xiaoxiao went to check nervously. "Have a car," he said, taking her arms and holding the child, turning away from the road. "Get down." The lights of the car were speeding towards them in the darkness. She was lying in the grass, and Song Moding was holding the child between her and the road. Cars whizzed by. They sat up slowly. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the little boy. The glass shards scratched his arm, but the child actually didn't say a word. Collapsed due to excessive blood loss. "Give him some peach juice." Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Song Moding worriedly. "What should we do now? We can't go far with our two children. Both of them are now seriously ill." Song Moding picked up Ziluo, and Zhang Xiaoxiao had no choice but to carry the little fat man on his back. 3 kilometers, we have to walk there now. I don't know if Mu Feng has solved Mu Chen, we are not safe yet. Pushing Zhang Xiaoxiao forward. Zhang Xiaoxiao gritted his teeth and followed his footsteps and walked forward. Song Moding is right. They are not safe yet. Everything is still unknown. The child in his arms unconsciously put his hand on Zhang Xiaoxiao's neck, and his warm breath made Zhang Xiaoxiao miss his glutinous rice balls. After escaping death this time, she will cherish her life more and the happiness with her family. Hope it will end soon. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 559. Chapter 559, One More Sun, 2 chapters combined into one. They almost succeeded. Countless headlights suddenly appeared about 1 kilometer away, exposing them instantly. Song Moding pushed Zhang Xiaoxiao behind a big tree and threw himself in the opposite direction. When he landed, he rolled and drew his gun. Zhang Xiaoxiao stood stiffly behind the tree, the sudden fear driving away their hope of being rescued. While waiting, she closed her eyes, made fists with both hands, pressed the child in her arms hard, and listened attentively to see if there would be any noise coming from behind. She heard nothing, not really. Being too quiet is also a fear. Mu Chen appeared at the entrance of the alley, with a slight smile on his lips and a weapon in his hand. He walked slowly to the front of the woods, his pistol aimed at the tree where Zhang Xiaoxiao was hiding. "This bullet can penetrate a 10-centimeter thick steel plate. Are you sure you still want to resist?" Song Moding immediately appeared at a right angle. but Muchen's weapon did not turn towards him, but continued to aim at Zhang Xiaoxiao. "Do not move," Mu Chen said. Song Moding stopped. He knew that Muchen was not joking. "You too, you didn't say goodbye when you left." Mu Chen's tone was brisk, but his eyes were cold. "Goodbye," Song Moding said expressionlessly. He dare not act rashly. "Throw away the gun," Mu Chen said to Song Moding. Song Moding let go and let the gun fall to the ground. "You have failed to live up to my hospitality. If you were not caught by the guards, your trick would have succeeded." "Who are you?" Song Moding shrugged. "There is no point in denying it now. I've got what I want. I've got the virus samples in your laboratory, and I know everything you know. You want to cut off your husband, just for money." The person who answered Mu Chen's question was Song Moding. Zhang Xiaoxiao saw a subtle change in Song Moding's face, and his eyes became cold and ruthless. "Someone with that kind of talent can make a fortune in a short time, and I need it. But that's my thing, and you're a thief." "Don't say it so harshly, I also put in my labor, who wouldn't want to make a lot of money? So that's what happened, just for money. It's always been like this." "What about her?" Mu Chen nodded in Zhang Xiaoxiao's direction. "I assume she is your accomplice." "I always act alone." "So she is. She has nothing to do with this. I just need Dr. Jiang's talent, and I can make a lot of money." Mu Chen turned the muzzle of the gun from Zhang Xiaoxiao to Song Moding in an instant, and his finger was already on the trigger. "Don't take me for a fool," he whispered. Mu Feng had already drawn his pistol and aimed it between his eyebrows. "Perhaps those are the questions I should be asking." Mu Feng said coldly, "Throw away the gun. Stand with Mr. Shi." Both men were stunned. Song Moding seemed to have stopped breathing and his face turned pale. Mu Chen stared at him in surprise, and then began to laugh bitterly. There was a loud bang in the distance, and then a series of explosions sounded one after another. Mu Chen's face turned strangely pale, as if someone had pinched his throat. "The laboratory was destroyed," he said gruffly. "Explosion, father is dead." He slowly raised his head, fear in his eyes. "It's you, right?" Mu Feng took a few deep breaths, and then said calmly, "I can't let you spread that virus." "Cannot?" Mu Chen blinked rapidly, thinking he heard wrongly. But he didn't. Mu Feng stood there with a calm expression. You know what they are going to do." "I am with them." Mu Chen felt as if the world had turned upside down, and what he thought was real was no longer real. In that breathless yet clear moment, he understood. The so-called factory attack was also carried out by you behind the scenes. What on earth do you want to do? Unfortunately, even if you destroy those, you can still copy all the research, so I have to take more drastic measures. Dad died because of you." Mu Chen roared angrily and suddenly stretched out his hand to pull the trigger. But Mu Feng was faster, and his weapon was in his hand. He did not hesitate, pulled the trigger 3 times, shot Muchen twice in the chest and once in the head. His brother fell to the ground, blood staining the ground. Mu Feng's hands dropped to his sides, and a tear slid down his face. The events that were arranged from the beginning finally reached this point. He took a deep breath and wiped his eyes. The road to was indeed paved with thorns. He just wanted to destroy the virus. He couldn't let his father actually spread the virus as planned. Ziluo, his beautiful, brave, fragile Ziluo would not survive if he came into contact with that cold. Even if there is a vaccine, you will not be able to survive. He murdered his own brother. His soul may be sent to for this, but destroying the virus and saving countless living beings, he thought, should be able to offset the merits and demerits, and he also saved Ziluo. Ziluo was entrusted to him by his mother before she died. It is the continuation of mother's life, and no one is more like her mother than Ziluo. Mu Feng walked up to the guards. Many people heard the gunshots and saw this scene, but no one spoke. They all looked uncertain. A little at a loss, but also a little relieved. Many people don't like Mu Xiaokeng's tyranny, and now everything seems to be over. He glanced at several faces and said, Mu Chen is dead. My father is also dead. I will take over all the work from now on. Please take good care of my brother. I will take him home and bury him next to my father. The pale guard nodded. They all know what to do. They can become wind movers, or they must die. They choose to live. Someone whispered something to the others, and then they started to deal with Mu Chen's body. Muafeng glanced at Ziluo in Zhang Xiaoxio's arms. When can I take my sister back? The deal between us has been completed. He did everything he had to do. Song Moding glanced at Zhang Xiaoxiao. You should know that it's not finished yet. He is not cruel. There are no eternal secrets in this world. The only person who knows Zhang Xiaoxio's secret is Mu Feng. Muafeng looked at Ziluo expressionlessly. I will dismiss everyone, and when I take Ziluo back, I will give you an explanation. He understood that Song Moding was not Zhang Xiaoxiao. He knew how to make choices as a man. As long as Ziluo can live, he has been stained with too many sins. Then end it all with your own life. The sound of a car came in the darkness. The sound of messy footsteps. Mu Feng left silently. Jin Dachuan appeared behind them with people. You are finally back. Song Moding went up to give him a hug. They hadn't seen each other for a month since the last time. Suddenly there is a feeling that things are different and people are different. I only heard Song Moding calmly saying everything is normal as usual. Motor vehicles began to be vigilant and arranged to retreat. Then Zhang Xiaoxiao returned to his arms again. She thought she didn't move, she just felt him pulling her into his safe embrace. I'm sorry, he murmured as he pulled her in. He stopped and opened the car door for her. But I can't risk your safety. With anger igniting in her heart, she lifted her head from his shoulder and stared at him. Where is your safety? She asked excitedly. Have you ever thought about what I think when you do something like this? You think I don't notice and you put yourself between me and other people so that if someone shoots me, you can block the hole of the gun. She punched him in the chest. This surprised even herself. She had never hit anyone before. She hit him again, the pressure making her fists hurt. Damn, I want you to be healthy and whole, I want our kids to have a daddy, and I want more of your kids, so you gotta live, you hear me? I heard it, Song Moding said lowly and calmly, grabbing her fists and pressing them against his chest to prevent them from moving. I care about myself as well. I know I have to do whatever is necessary to protect you and my son. She relaxed against him, her lips quivering as she held back her tears. She is not a crybaby, but these days her whole nerves are about to collapse, and the tightrope is about to break. She still didn't want to cry at him. He had too much to deal with to turn around and face a crying wife. Someone lifted Ziluo into the car. The little ball at Zhang Xiaoxio's feet hesitated and bit his lip. Handling the corners of his clothes, lowering his head so that he couldn't see the boy's expression, Zhang Xiaoxiao was about to get in the car. Seeing that the little fat man had no place to move, he said, Come on. Get in the car with Mom. Wave. The little fat man paused, stood there and whispered, I can leave. You are fine now. You don't need me to play your son. I know I should leave, but can you put me on the road in the city? I won't disturb you. The voice was small and a little unnatural. Trying hard to straighten his spine and pretend that he doesn't care. He knew he was going to be abandoned, every time. This is not the first time. These adults are like this. After taking advantage of others, he immediately becomes a burden. He told himself not to be sad, since he was used to it anyway. Although this time, he could enjoy the warmth and security of being cared for like a son, but after all, he was not their biological son. He has his own biological son. If it were not for his biological son, how could he appear here? He is just a substitute. Now finish what he should do and leave honestly. At least let him have a full meal. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled and shook his head, holding his little hand. Get in the car, you haven't told me what your name is yet? Now that you are my son, you will be my son from now on. Anyway, you have no parents, so just let me do it, be your mother. Pick up the little fat man and put him on the seat. The little fat man raised his little face slightly arrogantly. He tried hard to suppress the emotions that he wanted to collapse, and said with a straight face, "My name is Xiao Do Yaer. Do you really want to be my mother? If you become my mother, you have to be my mother for the rest of your life." Yes, you adults love to talk what you mean. The look on his face was like he didn't care who became his mother. In fact, I was very nervous. My eyes were fixed on Zhang Xiaoxiao's expression, for fear that Zhang Xiaoxiao would suddenly change his mind. Zhang Xiaoxiao touched his head and said, "You are so chubby, you don't look like a little bean sprout. I'll change your name to Little Beizai from now on. I think it's better to call you Beizai than a bean sprout. Look at how you look. How can you still be called a little bean sprout when you are so fat?" Xiao Duya looked at himself. Indeed, in order to act as a substitute for others, the man had eaten a lot of good things for himself. And the result of his open belly eating was that he became this chubby shape. Let's just say steamed buns. Steamed buns are better than bean sprouts. He likes to eat big meat buns the most. It's good to call them steamed buns. But the woman in front of me has never told herself whether she will be her mother for the rest of her life. He knew that these adults were very good at lying. "I don't want you to be my mother, you are not my real mother." If he doesn't want it, he won't be sad. He doesn't want a mother. What's the use of having a mother? In the name of loving themselves, those mothers always act like the best mothers in the world to outsiders, and are gentle and kind, but in private they are evil and black-hearted, denying them food and locking them up in a dark room. Some even beat him. He doesn't want a mother. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled so loudly that Beizai was dissatisfied. He glared at Zhang Xiaoxiao with accusing eyes. Song Moding gave him the back of his head for the rest of his life. "Hey, boy, you actually learned to glare at your mother now. Let me tell you, as my son, you have rules and you have to respect your elders." Beizai glared at Song Moding with resentment, but he knew that this man was very powerful. "Can't beat it myself." He saw with his own eyes how this man led them to escape. Faced with such a person, he knew that he could only give in. Snort. He will bully the child. When he grows up, he will be so strong that if he slaps himself on the back of the head today, he will slap him 10 times in the future. Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others got in the car. Arrive home. Mrs. Song, who had received the news early, Mr. Song and Mr. Song were bringing rice dumplings, and Bai Yi had been standing at the door for a long time, and opened the door as soon as they heard any movement. Seeing the couple, the old man and the old woman burst into tears. How could they have imagined that their grandson almost narrowly escaped death this time? Mr. Song looked at Song Moding with sharp eyes, and he felt relieved, as long as he was not hurt. After getting in the car, Zhang Xiaoxiao gave Song Moding a little peach juice to drink. The minor injury on Song Moding's body had already healed. Come in, you are suffering, come in quickly. Auntie has cooked a table of delicious dishes for you." Mrs. Song quickly wiped away her tears. As people get older, they become more emotional. Tang Yuan threw herself into Zhang Xiaoxiao's arms, her little body clinging tightly to Zhang Xiaoxiao's arms. A pair of chubby arms hugged Zhang Xiaoxiao's neck, and her white and tender face pressed against Zhang Xiaoxiao's cheek. Soft, warm breath hit Jiang's small ears. Mom, where have you been? Tang Yuan can't be found when I look for you. You and Dad are not here. Tang Yuan misses you so much." Zhang Xiaoxiao hugged him tightly and kissed his little face, making him giggle. Mom and Dad also miss Tang Yuan very much. They don't just rush back as soon as they finish their work. Mom misses Tang Yuan. Mother and son were smiling with their foreheads pressed against each other. The bun next to him was envious when he saw it. This was that mother's child, and he was the one who suffered on his behalf. Jealousy made him furious. Mrs. Song pulled Zhang Xiaoxiao to sit on the sofa and checked everything. Song Moding picked up some things that could be said and told the old lady. Bai Yi hugged Zhang Xiaoxiao reluctantly. She could already understand what the adults said. Grandpa and Grandma can't eat or sleep these days because something happened to the little sister and brother-in-law. She gets sad when she takes care of Tang Yuan. When I lost my grandparents, I was already 5 years old, but Tang Yuan was only 2 years old, so he might not remember his parents at all. This would be the most tragic thing in the world. Now that her sister has been lost and found, she is a little worried. I'm afraid that my sister and brother-in-law will do something again. The world of adults is very complicated. How come my sister and brother-in-law meet so many bad people? Bai Yi decided to become stronger in order to protect her sister and Tang Yuan. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 560. Chapter 560. I'm embarrassed for you, 2 chapters in 1. Song Moding stretched out his arms, looking for those 2 special little heads. Where are the glutinous rice and steamed buns? Zhang Xiaoxiao asked anxiously. She also noticed something was wrong. It was definitely not normal for the house to be too quiet. Song Moding, who was lying on the sofa with his arms and legs spread out, suddenly sat upright. All the adults started looking around. They were just playing with blocks here. Bai Yi pointed to the corner of the living room. There were messy building blocks on the small table, but there was no one there at all. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao quickly started inspecting the house. How long ago was that? Zhang Xiaoxiao shouted. Less than 2 minutes, just before you mentioned adopting Beizai. Bai Yi knelt down and looked under the bed with great effort. That's Tang Yuan's favorite place to hide and seek. 2 minutes. Zhang Xiaoxiao almost whimpered. 2 minutes, Tang Yuan can destroy this house with one hand in 2 minutes. The little fat boy with the face of an angel turned out to be a devil with extraordinary energy. It was simply unbelievable. Tang Yuan, she shouted loudly, Tang Yuan, come out, no matter where you are. Sometimes shouting like this works, but most of the time it doesn't work at all. Everyone joined in the search, but they just couldn't find the black-haired little villain. All family members were ecstatic when Tang Yuan was born. There was no doubt that he was a spoiled child. This child has a terrible temper and an extremely strong will, even for small things. Preventing what he wants to do is as difficult as holding back the tide with a bucket. He inherited his father Song Moding's planning skills and his mother's adventurous spirit, which is simply terrifying for a 2-year-old child. Whoever stands in his way, he has the ability to secretly cause that person to stumble. Once, Zhang Lei saw a pair of scissors in his hand. He immediately snatched the knife away to prevent him from hurting anyone or anything. Tang Yuan was furious and kept roaring at him. He reluctantly stopped until Song Moding came to stop him. Being disciplined like this by his father, who he always admired, made him sob sadly and made everyone choke. Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi scolded Zhang Lei and Song Moding for a long time. They found that so far, the only 2 things that could make him sad was being scolded by Song Moding and being forced to sit on the punishment chair. After he stopped sobbing, he pouted and hid in the corner, always glaring threateningly at Zhang Lei over his chubby shoulders. Then he ran to Zhang Xiaoxiao for comfort, climbed onto his mother's lap and rocked her gently. His next stop was Song Moding's knee, showing that he had forgiven him for his roughness. He would put his arms around Song Moding's neck and rub his little fleshy face against him. Even briefly sleeping on his broad shoulders. When she woke up again, She climbed down and rushed to the kitchen, asking Fan Chiuying, who was called Lai Lai by glutinous rice balls, for Bao Bao, the name of a drink called Jian Lai Bao. Zhang Xiaoxiao would never allow him to drink this kind of carbonated drink, so Fan Chiuying took a bottle from the cabinet and handed it to him. That is specially prepared for glutinous rice balls. Because he could only look at the plum blossoms to quench his thirst, and couldn't open it at all. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao always exchanged intimate glances, and watching their son's love for drinks was a pastime for them. However, it was not surprising to see him holding the familiar bottle tightly with his young hands. He would pretend to take a few sips and then focus entirely on the bottle. Song Moding once observed him and saw his extremely happy expression after putting his little hands on the bottle, and he couldn't help but smile. This time he was determined not to allow Fan Chiuying to open the bottle, walked out of the kitchen arrogantly, and stopped in the corridor. He shook the bottle vigorously, his whole body jumping with it. Then, with a soft and sweet smile, he happily ran into the next room, handed the bottle to Zhang Lei, tilted his head playfully and said in a charming voice, "Dear, please, help me open it." Then he took a few steps back. "Don't drive." Song Moding roared and jumped up from his chair, but it was still too late. Zhang Lei dotes on this little guy so much that he almost always responds to his requests. After pulling the tab and opening the seal, sticky liquid and foam spurted out from the mouth of the bottle, splashing on the wall, furniture, and chairs. Zhang Lei was blown away and he tried in vain to seal the bottle cap on, but he was already soaked. Tang Yuan clapped his hands and chuckled. "Hey hey hey." Song Moding was not sure whether he was laughing because the prank was successful or whether he was mocking them. But it doesn't matter, he himself fell to the ground laughing. If you make your children laugh at something they do, you cannot punish them. This is etched in stone. Sweet dumpling. He shouted, "Do you want ice cream? This is my favorite thing besides Jian Lai Bao." But this time there was no answer. Bai Yi rushed into the house. His dark eyes widened anxiously and he shouted, "Brother-in-law, the glutinous rice and steamed buns are in the room, but the matches are missing." "Oh my God!" Zhang Xiaoxiao gasped in surprise and rushed out as quickly as possible. Song Moding ran ahead of her, his heart in his throat, his instinct screaming for him to find his child as soon as possible. Everyone rushed to the door of Tang Yuan's room. Zhang Xiaoxiao's face was pale and he opened the door and knocked on the door in panic. "Tang Yuan, open the door quickly." "Mama, I'm not going to open it, Baizai and I are playing a game." Tang Yuan shouted excitedly. Song Moding moved a chair. From the glass window on the top of the door, you could clearly see the happy light on their little faces when they succeeded in their prank. "Hi." Tang Yuan even saw Song Moding there and said hello happily. Mrs. Song's knees were shaking. Zhang Xiaoxiao held her and supported her body. One of Tang Yuan's favorite games is the game of lighting fire, which is also a game banned by Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao Ming. Song Moding's eyes were fixed on his son. Tang Yuan frowned and frowned, trying to light a fire with difficulty. The dangerous flames flashed away. "In front of you is a pile of torn pages, which is a source of danger." "No," Song Moding lowered his voice in warning to make himself look less severe. "Tang Yuan, open the door." Baizai froze. He was a little evil and wanted to see Tang Yuan being scolded by adults, so he encouraged Tang Yuan to do things that adults would never allow. But now Tang Yuan really didn't listen to those words, and the flames quickly engulfed the papers in front of him. He didn't expect that Tang Yuan didn't care about his dangerous situation, as if he didn't care as much as if he was playing a game. "Song Moding." Zhang Xiaoxiao murmured in a choked voice, she could already smell the burnt smell. Old Mrs. Song's eyes began to shake. "Sweet dumpling." he roared. Tang Yuan smiled like a devil, and the paper in front of him quickly burned. Because of his complacency, he was too close to the flames, and the flames almost quickly fell on him. All of a sudden, Tang Yuan screamed in horror. Soon engulfed in flames. Song Moding kicked the door open. With everyone pouring in, they saw Tang Yuan standing there in a daze, covered in water. Beizai was holding a round fish tank in his hand, and there was a small goldfish jumping lively on Tang Yuan's head. Looking funny, Beizai murmured, noticing that he had become the object of everyone's attention, and gave an awkward explanation. This is the only one with water here. He was secretly worried that he seemed to have done something wrong. The glutinous rice were made at his own instigation. He would probably be kicked out. He is just too jealous. Zhang Xiaoxiao hugged the two children and inspected them. He was extremely lucky that the flames only made Tang Yuan's hair turn into curls. Fortunately, there were no burns. Thank you, Beizai, thank you for helping me with glutinous rice balls, you are very smart. Beizai is very witty. He is not afraid of danger at a young age and has strong adaptability. Beizai rubbed his hands silently. My mother doesn't know about the bad things I did. If she knew, she wouldn't do it to me again. That night, after Tang Yuan fell asleep, Beizai slipped out of the room. Wearing the same clothes as when he came here, with a backpack on his back containing the food he took from the refrigerator, he walked to the gate. Hunting your toes, you try to unlock the door. Where are you going so late? The sudden light turned on, making Beizai startled. That's my mother's voice. Beizai turned around silently, lowering his head as frustrated as a caught thief. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked up to him and squatted in front of Beizai. Take care of his shoulders, which are sore from packing too many things. Where are you going? This is your home. Beizai gritted his teeth. If he continued to hide what he had done, he would be sorry for Zhang Xiaoxiao's mother. Although she had only been his mother for 3 days, he couldn't lie to her. He bravely summoned up the courage to raise his head and looked into Zhang Xiaoxiao's gentle eyes. Beizai was suddenly discouraged. Mom, it was me who encouraged Tang Yuan to light the fire just now. I laughed at him because he couldn't do anything. I laughed at him because he was afraid of being punished by his parents, so he did that. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't speak for a long time. When Beizai closed his eyes, he knew that no one likes children who have done bad things. I'll leave right away, I won't teach you bad glutinous rice balls. Other mothers did the same to him. No one likes a bad boy. He is a bad boy through and through. The little body turned around, shoulders drooped. Beizai curled his lips, knowing that he would sleep on the street tonight. He is not afraid. It's not like I haven't slept at all. Perhaps if you go out and pretend to be a homeless child, a kind person will take you in for a night. Of course it could also be a human trafficker. Who cares? Human traffickers can also take him in. His small body was surrounded by a warm embrace. Beizai was stunned and was twisted by Zhang Xiaoxiao stupidly. Looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao blankly. Beizai, mother knows that you are just jealous that Tang Yuan has a mother who loves him. Dad, you don't need to be jealous of him in the future. You are just like him. We are both our sons. You will be my son, Zhang Xiaoxiao. We are going to go to the police station tomorrow to investigate your situation. If we can't find your parents, we will adopt you until you reach adulthood. The shoulders of such a small child suddenly hunched. Wet tears soaked Zhang Xiaoxiao's clothes, and her little body curled up crying. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes were moist. A month later, they had another family member, Song Zi. Have an additional son, Zhang Xiaoxiao. Mr. Song and Mrs. Song both felt very good. Tang Yuan has a brother who is 1 year older than him. The two children in the room were so excited that they almost jumped off the bed. Zhang Xiaoxiao hugged his two sons and kissed the little face on the left and the little face on the right. Two fleshy heads squeezed over, hugging Zhang Xiaoxiao desperately and kissing her. Zhang Xiaoxiao was pushed onto the bed by them. The three people laughed together. After the two sons were tired from playing and fell asleep, Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding closed the door and returned to their bedroom. The moment he entered the room, he put her on the bed without giving her any time to think. Her heart was beating fiercely in her chest. She gave a little cry, but he deepened the kiss. In his bold and sensual attack, he quickly threw her into the flames. Even though she tried to squirm away from his hand, he showed no mercy. After a long time, Zhang Xiaoxiao was exhausted and so weak that he could only breathe. She fell into a deep sleep, barely aware of him carefully parting their bodies and lying beside her. Shortly the lights went out and she felt the cool darkness. He pulled back the covers and laid her on the sheets. She instinctively threw herself into his arms, resting her head on his shoulder and placing one hand on his chest, feeling the intense heartbeat under her fingers. This was the first time in recent times that she felt a little calm. She didn't know how long it took before she noticed his hands moving on her body with intent. "Can you do it again?" he asked, his voice low and tight. "Yes, I'd love to," she said politely, and then heard herself chuckle, and he covered her again. Song Moding was lying in the darkness, feeling her leaning on his left side. She fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, breathing into his chest. Her soft body was pressed against his ribs. He couldn't resist gently tracing the silky curves with the back of his fingers. When Zhang Xiaoxiao walked in, he heard Zhang Xian crying in the room. Fan Qiuying scolded. "Take the ice cube and apply it on your face quickly. Do you think you can still see people with your appearance? You are just wearing a scarf. Are others blind? You can't see. You didn't see the neighbor on your left when you came in just now. What's wrong with that look in your eyes? What's wrong this time? I didn't agree with Dezhuang not to attack you again. Why do I want to attack you again?" Fan Qiuying felt very uncomfortable when she mentioned the son-in-law. Zhang Yu advised, "Mom, please don't talk about her yet. Ask her to explain the matter clearly. What's going on? You can't hit someone no matter what. How can a grown man attack a woman? Take a look at what this face looks like. Come on, let me take a look at you." As he spoke, he lifted up his clothes. Zhang Xian hurriedly wanted to hold Zhang Yu's hand. It's a pity that it was too late. Zhang Yu had already taken off her clothes. The numerous bruises on her body were obvious. They were not the current scars at all, they should be old wounds. At this time, both Fan Qiuying and Zhang Yu took a breath of air. How cruel this must be. Zhang Xian covered her face and cried. The two children next to me were also crying. Zhang Yu could only hold the child and walk out. "Don't cry, you two. Come and go to the room next to me with Aunt, and let's wash our faces. You play with Nayuniu. Nayuniu didn't go to kindergarten today. Auntie, I'll find something delicious for you, and you guys can play in the house together. Can you turn over the rope?" No matter what the situation is, it is inappropriate for children to see the situation. As soon as Zhang Yu went out, she saw Zhang Xiaoxiao, "Go into the house quickly and ask your second sister what's going on." At this time, the second child was beaten like this, and he was still hiding there without telling why he was beaten. "I know the eldest sister, the second sister called me and I just came back. She probably wanted to wait until I came back before telling me. Zhang Xiaoxiao specially asked for leave today and came back. I received a call from my second sister early in the morning. She was crying on the phone, but I didn't explain clearly what was going on. I just asked her to come back quickly." In the past 2 years, Zhang Xiaoxiao and his second sister have become increasingly estranged from each other. It's not that she doesn't want to interact with the second sister, it's that the second sister deliberately distanced herself from her. Zhang Xiaoxiao's character is so carefree. If others treat him well, he will naturally be willing to get close to them. But if others don't want to get close to her, She won't really put her hot face on someone else's cold ass. So she really doesn't know how the second sister has been living in the past few years. She just heard her mother nagging her some time ago, saying that her brother-in-law has actually started beating people. She didn't remember Qin Dazhuang beating anyone in her previous life. Anyway, the evolution of things now is very different from the trajectory of her previous life, and she cannot treat everything according to her previous life. Zhang Xiaoxiao opened the curtain and went in. As soon as she walked in, Fan Qiuying saw her daughter. Xiaoxiao, come and ask your second sister, she won't say whether she is dead or alive. There must be a reason for beating people. You can't just hit people for good. What would that look like? This Qin Dazhuang is too shameless. Now he can do it at every turn. Hit someone. Even if your sister gave birth to 2 girls, is it your sister's fault? Fan Qiuying couldn't be more angry. It was both angry and distressed. Of course I feel sorry for my own daughter. It would be strange not to feel bad for being beaten like this. Last time, Qin Dazhuang just slapped Zhang Xian. After he said it, Qin Dazhuang apologized profusely, so the incident was over. But I didn't expect that Zhang Xian would be beaten like this in just 3 months. As soon as Zhang Xian heard that Zhang Xiaoxiao was coming, she stood up in a hurry and wiped away her tears. With her aggrieved expression and the bruises on her face, she looked like an angry little daughter-in-law. Zhang Xiaoxiao went over and put a towel wrapped in ice on her face. Second sister, didn't you say you have something to tell me? Now that I'm here, you can tell me. What's going on? Why is Qin Dazhuang starting to hit people now? I don't think he looks like the number one I beat you this time. Why didn't you tell your family if I beat you before? Zhang Xiaoxiao also felt distressed. After all, she was still her second sister. Zhang Xian grabbed Zhang Xiaoxiao's hand and said, Xiaoxiao, you can't blame your brother-in-law for beating me. This thing is strange. Oh, stop talking, Xiaoxiao, can you give me 2,500 yuan? Second sister, what you said is very strange. Your brother-in-law beat you and you said you couldn't blame him, so who is to blame for this? Is it you, or do you blame me for this? Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that things were unusual, and Zhang Xian's words were a bit cover-up. Zhang Xian lowered his head with a guilty conscience and remained silent. This meaning is more obvious. Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly realized, is it really related to me? Fan Qiuying was also stunned. Is it related to Zhang Xiaoxiao? Zhang Xian, you are talking. How does this matter have anything to do with Xiaoxiao? Please explain clearly what is going on and make our family anxious. Who in the family can feel better when they see you like this? Zhang Xian looked at Zhang Xiao's eyes and spoke anxiously. It's because Qin Dazhuang knew that Xiaoxiao gave eldest sister and third brother 3,000 yuan each. But he only gave me 500 yuan, so Xiaoxiao looked down on us and our family looked down on the Qin family. Every time after drinking, because the two of us would quarrel about this matter, and then I would get a beating. The beating was the most severe this time, and Qin Dazhuang is still lying down and sleeping at home. I really couldn't bear it any longer, and I felt sorry for my 2 children, so I took the children back with me. I really couldn't bear it anymore. Looking at Zhang Xiaoxiao, he started to cry. Zhang Xiaoxiao was stunned, and Fan Qiuying also paused. It's really because of Zhang Xiaoxiao. So you came home and asked me for the 2,500 yuan. Zhang Xiaoxiao woke up and asked in a deep voice. Zhang Xian nodded, Xiaoxiao, no matter what the reason was, you gave the eldest sister and the third brother 3,000 yuan, but you only gave me 500 yuan. I don't blame you, but we can't get through the situation with your brother-in-law. I quarrel with your brother-in-law every day because of this matter, and my mother-in-law also criticizes Hawaii at home every day. He said that I was not valued by my family, that my father did not love my mother, and that I gave birth to 2 more losers. I really couldn't bear to live like this, so I just thought about taking back the 2,500 yuan. At least you can live a peaceful life, right? I don't want my in-laws to see my mother-in-law's jokes either. Zhang Xiaoxiao was very happy. Second sister, do you mean that I did this unfairly? Did I cause your family dispute? This is how white-eyed wolves are raised. Zhang Xian didn't say anything, so that's what he meant. Fan Qiuying went up and slapped Zhang Xian. Your man is showing off his power at home. You can't control your man or your own family, so you go back to your parents' house to show off your power. And you blame your sister. That's the money your sister earned herself. She can give it to anyone she wants. How much to give to whom? What's going on? Because you give others money for free and you still complain. If I had known this, I wouldn't have given you a penny. Let me see what the old Qin family has to say. If they have the ability, the old Qin family can make money on their own. Why should they force their daughter-in-law to go back to their parents' home to ask for money? How shameless you are! You still have the nerve to come back and tell your sister. I'm embarrassed for you. End of this chapter.